Welcome to Whisperwood Stories. Today, we read 2 stories from r/shortscarystories. Let's begin. Our first story is from Erutious. Monsters. There it was again. Jeremy put his hands over his ears and tried to block the noise out, but the scratching against the hardwood sent chills up his spine. "Stop that right now!" Jeremy clapped his hands over his mouth, terrified at what he had just done. The scratching under his bed had been happening for 3 weeks. The scratching, the weird noises, and sometimes he thought he heard whimpers, and words too amongst the odd sounds. His parents had said, "Oh, you're just dreaming," or "It's just the house settling." But Jeremy knew that it was something under there. He knew it in the way that children always know. The scratching stopped, and he lay there, silently shivering with the covers pulled up to his chin. He had done it now. Now it would sink out from under his bed and eat him up. "Who's there?" said a small voice that was trying to be brave. Jeremy jumped in surprise. That had been a child's voice. The thing under the bed had spoken, and it was a kid like him. He peeked over the edge of the bed, expecting yellow eyes or a mouthful of pointed teeth, but no one peeked out from under his bed. After a few seconds of heavy silence, he decided to be brave for a little while longer. "I'm Jeremy Bird. Why have you been under my bed all these nights making noise?" "Me?" said the voice, and to Jeremy, it sounded terrified. "You're the terrible thing that's been making the noises under my bed this whole time." "No, I haven't," Jeremy said, and laughed at the absurdity. "Oh, yes, you have," said the monster, who was blustering with angry terror. "You growl and roar so deep into the night. I've heard you." Jeremy thought for a moment. "Does it sound like this?" And he pretended to snore. He'd gotten pretty good at it if he wanted to trick his parents so that he could stay up a little later. The monster quailed in terror. "Oh no, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have." "That's the noise that I make while I sleep, silly," said Jeremy with a laugh. "Oh," said the monster, relieved. "But what about the terrible squealing you make?" it added suspiciously. Jeremy thought about it, and as he thought, he leaned back on the bed. The springs creaked and groaned. "There! That scream! It chills me every time I hear it," said the monster with real terror. "That's just the mattress," Jeremy said. He was becoming less afraid of this monster as it proved to be more fearful of him. "Well, what about those little noises you make at night? They're so invasive, they make me want to scream." Jeremy thought. What could this creature be talking about? He looked at the glow-in-the-dark stars on his ceiling as he contemplated and smiled as he remembered how he and his mom pasted them up there. What small noises late at night could this creature be talking about? He thought and thought, and his silence made the monster cry a little. A high-pitched whine at the back of his throat that made Jeremy cringe. "Those are whimpers," Jeremy realized suddenly, understanding the noise as soon as he heard it. "Why do you make that sound?" it asked, but Jeremy already knew the answer. "Because I'm scared of you," he said, feeling a tear slip down his cheek as he lay at his bed and a child's fear over things his parents will never understand. And because no one believes me. There was silence for a while. "I'm sorry," said the monster in a small little voice. Jeremy felt himself smile a little. "It's okay. I don't think you meant to scare me. It's just in your..." "No, not for that. Well, I am sorry for that," the monster added quickly. "But I'm more sorry for what's about to happen to you." Jeremy tensed. "What do you mean?" "Well, I had two monsters, the one in my closet and you. When I told the closet monster that I was more afraid of you than him, he told me that he could make you go away. He told me that if I distracted you, he'd catch you off guard and make sure that you'd never scared me again." Jeremy was silent. "I'm sorry," said the monster. "Please, won't you forgive me?" Jeremy didn't answer. "Hello? Are you still there? Please don't be mad. I'm sorry." But Jeremy never would answer. The only sound to be heard was the soft drip on the floor and the closet door's light scratch as it pulled shut. Our last story is from Genuinely Grim. Missing. I stepped into the dimly lit foyer bar of the 2-star motel I had just checked into. The place was practically empty. 2 grubby men were playing cards in one of the upholstered red booths, and a man clad in a battered-looking suit was sitting with his back to me at the bar. I hesitated for a moment, but it wasn't as though the place was overflowing with options, so I headed towards the bar, took a seat on one of the stools. "Can I have a..." I paused, scanning the menu. "Whiskey on the rocks," I finally managed. I needed a drink, badly. "Sure." The bartender was too busy watching the game to even give me a side glance. I observed the man sitting at the other end of the table. He didn't look as though he was paying any attention to me or the game, and seemed to be focused rather intently on stirring his cocktail with a straw. "What brings you to this neck of the woods?" The man looked up, and the corners of his mouth twitched. He stood up slowly and pushed his drink along the counter until it was about 2 inches away from mine. "Business. And yourself?" I sighed, torn between the convenience of lying and the complexity of the truth. I knew that repeating his response was likely the most optimal answer, but I couldn't help myself. "My wife," I said, my voice suddenly shaky. "She's been missing for over a month now." He studied me carefully for a minute. "I'm sorry to hear that," he said, taking a swig. "That must be hard." I nodded to my glass. No amount of whiskey could possibly fill the empty void inside me. The past few weeks had really taken a toll on both my physical and mental health. But all is not lost until she's found. I looked up, perplexed by his candor. He wasn't wrong, though. Only a small fraction of missing people were never located. I couldn't remember the exact number, even though I'd looked it up a few days prior. I forced my lips into what I hoped was a friendly smile and nodded politely. "I was married too, once," he said, staring past the TV screen. "Oh, what happened?" I realized a little too late that this was probably not the most tactful thing to say given the circumstances. I glanced at him, uneasily, but he didn't seem to mind. "She died," he sighed, "half a decade ago." I flinched. "I'm so sorry," was all I could muster. We nursed our drinks in silence for a while. "So, what's she like, your wife?" he said eventually. I couldn't help feeling grateful. I was a complete nobody to this guy, and yet, he could probably tell I was aching to tell my story. Was I that obvious? "Well, she's kind," I began, knowing full well that I need to use more descriptive adjectives in order to keep him interested. "She has red hair." He studied me, nodding sympathetically after each statement. "She loves to sing and has dimples when she smiles." I fumbled around in my coat pocket and pulled out my wallet. I opened it and slid a small picture of my wife and I on holiday from under its protective cover. "That's her," I said, handing the photo to him. He examined the picture, and I saw his expression promptly change from amicable to incredulous. "Eleanor?" he muttered under his breath. What is it? Have you seen my wife?" My voice was drenched with hope. He looked at me apprehensively. "That's my wife." Thank you for listening to Whisperwood Stories. If you enjoyed, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Do you have a story that you'd like me to read here? Consider commenting or sending it to whisperwoodsubmissions@gmail.com. The stories in this video were read with the author's permissions. Thank you again for listening, and be sure to check out the original Reddit posts. Don't let the shadows get too close.